I'm done, Ethan. Don't call me again. The text message glowed on the screen as rain hammered against the warehouse roof. Ethan Mercer stared at those 9 words, his calloused hands still dusty from inspecting concrete foundations. Most men in his position would have shrugged it off, just another failed relationship in a long string of disappointments. But Ethan wasn't most men. The woman who just walked away didn't know he was worth $3 billion. She didn't know his last name was stamped on half the building materials in the Pacific Northwest. She only knew he showed up to her cramped apartment smelling like sawdust and carrying cheap pizza. And somehow, that made losing her hurt worse than anything his money could fix. If you want to see how a billionaire who hides in warehouses wins back the woman who thinks he's just another broke contractor, stick with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The cafe smelled like burnt espresso and wet wool. Ethan sat in the back corner booth, the vinyl seat cracked beneath him, watching the door for someone he'd probably never recognize. His sister had set this up 3 weeks ago, insisting he needed to get back out there after his divorce finalized. He'd agreed mostly to shut her up, then immediately regretted it. The rain outside had turned Spokane's streets into rivers. Water streamed down the cafe windows, distorting the headlights passing by into abstract smears of yellow and red. Ethan checked his watch again, 7:45. His blind date was now 45 minutes late. "Can I get you anything else?" The waitress appeared beside his table, coffee pot in hand, her expression somewhere between pity and annoyance. "I'm good, thanks." She glanced at the empty seat across from him. "You sure your friend is coming?" "Probably not," Ethan admitted. The waitress refilled his cup anyway, even though he hadn't touched the last one. He appreciated the gesture. Most people in this city had no idea who he was, which was exactly how he preferred it. The Mercer family name carried weight in certain circles: real estate development, construction materials, commercial property. But Ethan himself looked nothing like the Forbes profile photos his PR team kept trying to make him update. Tonight he wore old jeans with concrete dust still clinging to the knees, a faded flannel shirt, and work boots that had seen better days. His dark hair needed a cut. His jaw needed a shave. He looked exactly like what he'd been doing all afternoon, crawling through an unfinished warehouse development in the industrial district, checking welds and arguing with contractors about load-bearing specifications. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister. "How's it going?" "She didn't show," he typed back. "What? Are you sure you're at the right place?" "Yeah. Been here almost an hour." "Ethan, I swear to God, if you're sitting in some construction site pretending—" He didn't bother responding. Rachel meant well, but she didn't understand that he wasn't avoiding dating because he was scared. He was avoiding it because every woman his sister introduced him to wanted the same thing: access to the Mercer fortune, invitations to the right parties, a photo op at charity galas. None of them wanted the guy who got genuinely excited about proper foundation drainage or spent his Saturdays teaching his 8-year-old son how to use a level. The cafe door crashed open. A woman stumbled inside, absolutely drenched, her dark hair plastered to her face and neck. She clutched the hand of a small girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, who looked equally soaked but somehow less miserable about it. The girl wore a bright yellow raincoat and red boots, and her eyes swept the cafe with open curiosity, while the woman looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. "Shit," the woman muttered, loud enough for Ethan to hear from across the room. She glanced around frantically, then spotted him in the back booth. Their eyes met. She looked absolutely mortified. Ethan realized with a sinking sensation in his chest that this was his date. The woman approached slowly, the little girl's hand still firmly in hers. Up close, Ethan could see she was about 30, with the kind of face that probably looked kind when it wasn't currently twisted in embarrassment. Her jacket was cheap, definitely not waterproof, and her jeans were soaked through at the knees where she must have knelt in a puddle. "Ethan?" Her voice came out rough, like she'd been yelling over traffic. "Yeah, Clara? I'm so sorry." She didn't sit down. The little girl did, though, sliding into the booth across from him and immediately grabbing a menu with wet fingers. "My babysitter canceled literally 45 minutes ago, and I couldn't just leave Lily alone, and I should have texted, but my phone died and—" She stopped, pressing her palm against her forehead. "I'm a complete disaster. You should just go. I'm sorry I wasted your time." The girl, Lily, looked up from the menu and her hands moved in quick, fluid gestures. Clara's entire demeanor shifted. Her hands moved too, responding in sign language with the kind of automatic grace that came from years of practice. Ethan watched them both, his brain trying to catch up with what was happening. "She wants to know if you're my boyfriend," Clara said finally, her cheeks flushing deeper red. "I told her no, I don't even know what to call this." "A blind date," Ethan supplied. "Your first one in a while?" "My first one in 3 years." Clara laughed, but it sounded more like a trapped animal than anything joyful, which should have been my sign that I'm not equipped for this anymore. Lily's hands moved again. This time she looked directly at Ethan while she signed, her expression serious. "What did she say?" Ethan asked. Clara hesitated. "She said you have kind eyes." Something shifted in Ethan's chest. He looked at the little girl, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd learned to read people carefully, the way kids do when they can't afford to make mistakes about who's safe. "Tell her thank you," he said. Clara's hands moved. Lily smiled, small and cautious. "Look," Clara said, "you really don't have to stay. I know this is weird and—" "Sit down," Ethan interrupted gently. "You're both soaked. At least have something hot to drink." Clara looked like she wanted to argue, but Lily was already peeling off her wet raincoat and making herself comfortable. After a moment, Clara slid into the booth beside her niece, moving like someone who expected the furniture to reject her. The waitress reappeared, clearly delighted by this development. "What can I get you ladies?" "Hot chocolate," Lily signed. Clara translated automatically. "Make that 2, Clara added. "And maybe some fries?" "Coming right up." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Ethan watched Clara try to smooth her wet hair back from her face, a completely futile gesture that somehow made her look more human, not less. "So," he said finally, "babysitter flaked?" "That's a generous way to put it," Clara muttered. "She texted me 90 minutes ago saying her boyfriend surprised her with concert tickets. Just completely bailed. And before you ask, no, I don't have a backup. I don't have backup for anything, actually. I'm basically one minor catastrophe away from total collapse at all times." Lily's hands moved. Clara responded, then translated. "She says that's dramatic." "She's not wrong," Clara admitted, managing a weak smile. "How old is she?" Ethan asked. 7, almost 8. "She's yours?" The question came out wrong, too blunt, but Clara didn't seem offended. "My niece. I'm raising her. Long story." Lily tugged on Clara's sleeve, signing something quickly. "No, you can't have ice cream before dinner," Clara signed back. "We literally just talked about this." Ethan found himself smiling despite the strangeness of the situation. There was something grounding about watching them interact, the easy rhythm of their communication, the way Clara's whole posture softened when she looked at Lily. The hot chocolate arrived, along with a massive plate of fries that neither of them had actually ordered. The waitress winked at Lily, who grinned back. "So what do you do, Ethan?" Clara asked, wrapping her cold hands around the mug. "Rachel mentioned something about construction." "I work in building materials," he said carefully. It was true enough. "Warehouses, mostly. Supply chain stuff. Pretty boring." "Sounds stable." "It pays the bills." "That's more than I can say." Clara immediately looked like she regretted the comment. "Sorry, I'm not usually this much of a mess. I swear I'm a semi-functional adult most days." "Most days?" "Okay. Some days." Lily laughed. A bright, clear sound that made several other customers turn and smile. Her hands moved rapidly and Clara's expression flickered between amusement and exasperation. "She says I'm functional at least 3 days a week," Clara translated, "which feels generous." "What do you do?" Ethan asked. "Graphic design, freelance, which is a fancy way of saying I panic about money constantly and take on too many projects I hate." She dragged a fry through ketchup without eating it. "I used to work for an agency, but the hours were impossible after I got Lily, so now I do logo designs for people who think $500 is too much, and also want 17 rounds of revisions." "Sounds frustrating." "It's survival." Clara finally ate the fry, then immediately grabbed another one. "What about you? Wife? Kids? Weird hobbies I should know about?" "Divorced. One son, Jake. He's 8. And I build furniture sometimes, if that counts as weird." "Build it how?" "Like with wood and tools." Ethan felt suddenly self-conscious. "Tables, chairs, bookshelves? Whatever needs making." Clara stared at him like he'd just admitted to speaking fluent Mandarin. You actually build furniture? Like from scratch? Yeah? That's insane. Who even knows how to do that anymore? I taught myself mostly YouTube videos and a lot of mistakes. Lily signed something, her expression curious. She wants to know if you'd build her a bookshelf, Clara said. Clara, Ethan could see the panic in her eyes. She's just being, Lily, stop. But Ethan was already nodding. Sure, if your aunt says it's okay. The panic in Clara's face intensified. You don't have to do that. I know. We can't pay you. I didn't ask you to. Clara looked like she wanted to argue more, but Lily was beaming now, signing enthusiastically about where the bookshelf should go and how many shelves it needed. They stayed at the cafe for another hour. Ethan learned that Clara was 30, originally from Seattle, and had moved to Spokane 2 years ago for cheaper rent. That she drank her coffee black, but her hot chocolate needed extra marshmallows. That she'd been teaching herself sign language since Lily was 3, when her younger sister first got the diagnosis, and then promptly started avoiding dealing with any of it. He learned that Lily loved art but hated math, that she wanted a dog but they weren't allowed pets in the apartment, and that she had opinions about everything from pizza toppings to what color notebook was objectively superior. He didn't learn much about why Clara was raising Lily instead of her sister, and he didn't push. When they finally stood to leave, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Clara tried to pay for their food, but Ethan had already handed cash to the waitress while she was in the bathroom with Lily. You didn't have to do that, Clara said, but her protest sounded automatic rather than genuine. I know. Outside, the sidewalk gleamed with reflected streetlights. Lily jumped in a puddle, and Clara didn't even try to stop her. So, Clara said, shoving her hands in her jacket pockets, this was probably the weirdest first date in human history. Top 5, at least. She laughed, and this time it sounded real. Thanks for not running away screaming. Thanks for showing up. 45 minutes late with a wet child. Better late than never. They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite ready to leave, but both unsure how to extend the evening. Lily signed something, looking between them with exaggerated innocence. Clara's face went pink. She wants to know if you're going to kiss me goodbye. Clara. Ethan couldn't tell if he was more amused or mortified. I'm going to die, Clara muttered. I'm actually going to die right here on this sidewalk. Lily giggled and grabbed Clara's hand, tugging her toward the street. I should go, Clara said quickly, before she embarrasses me further. Can I call you? The question came out before Ethan could second-guess it. Clara looked surprised. Seriously? Yeah. Even after all this? She gestured vaguely at herself, at Lily, at the general chaos of the evening, especially after all this. She studied his face like she was trying to figure out if he was messing with her. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay. Yeah. Call me. They exchanged numbers. Lily waved goodbye with both hands, and then they were gone, disappearing around the corner into the rainy Spokane night. Ethan stood there for a moment longer, his phone in his hand, watching the empty street. His sister called exactly 90 seconds later. Well? Rachel demanded before he even said hello. How was she? Did you like her? Was it awful? Are you going to see her again? It was fine. Fine. What does that mean? Ethan, I need details. She showed up late with her niece. We had coffee and fries. I'm seeing her again. Silence on the other end, then... Wait. You're seeing her again? Yeah. You never see them again? Well, this time I am. Oh my God, Rachel breathed. You actually like her. Ethan didn't answer, which was answer enough. What's she like? What does she do? Did you tell her about... I have to go, Rach. Ethan. He hung up and headed for his truck, parked 3 blocks away. The rain had picked up again, soaking through his flannel, but he didn't really care. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Clara, just making sure you didn't give me a fake number. He saved her contact and typed back, not fake, drive safe, we're walking. But thanks. Walking where? Home. It's only a mile. Ethan looked up at the rain, now coming down hard enough to sting. He typed, let me drive you. The response took a minute. You don't have to do that. I know. Where are you? She sent her location. Ethan jogged to his truck. He found them 2 blocks north, huddled under a bus stop shelter that wasn't doing much to keep them dry. Lily saw his truck first and pointed, signing something to Clara. Clara looked simultaneously relieved and embarrassed when he pulled up. "You really didn't have to." "Get in," Ethan said, leaning across to open the passenger door. She hesitated for exactly 2 seconds before helping Lily into the back seat and climbing in herself. The truck's interior was clean but worn, tools rattling in the bed, an old jacket wadded up behind the seat, the faint smell of sawdust and coffee. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would give him away. "Where to?" he asked. Clara gave him an address in one of the older neighborhoods, the kind where rent was cheap because everything was falling apart. They drove in comfortable silence. Lily fell asleep almost immediately, her head resting against the window. Clara watched her for a moment, then turned to look at Ethan. "You're a weird guy," she said softly. "Yeah? Yeah, good weird, I think, but weird. I'll take it. Most guys would have bailed the second I walked in with a kid. I'm not most guys." Clearly, the address she'd given him led to a 4-story apartment building that looked like it hadn't seen maintenance since the 90s. Peeling paint, cracked foundation, windows that probably leaked in every rainstorm. Clara saw him looking and bristled slightly. "It's not much, but it's ours." "I wasn't—" Ethan stopped. "I was just thinking you probably have terrible water pressure." She blinked. "How did you know that?" "Building's old, galvanized pipes. They corrode. Whole system probably needs replacing." "Oh." Clara looked at the building with new eyes, like she'd never considered there might be a reason for all its problems. "Yeah, the pressure is awful." She unbuckled and gently shook Lily awake. The girl signed something sleepy and confused. "We're home, baby," Clara signed back. "Come on!" Ethan got out and came around to help, but Clara was already lifting Lily out, the girl clinging to her like a koala. "Thanks for the ride," Clara said over Lily's shoulder. "And for everything, I guess." "Any time." She started toward the building, then stopped and turned back. "Ethan?" "Yeah?" "You meant it, right? About calling?" "Yeah, I meant it." She nodded, something uncertain but hopeful crossing her face. "Okay, good." He waited until they were inside before driving away. That night, Ethan stood in his own home, a sprawling estate in the hills south of the city that he mostly used for sleeping and ignoring, and thought about Clara's apartment building with its corroded pipes and broken foundation. His son was with his ex-wife for the weekend, so the house was empty except for him. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen he never cooked in, and a living room that looked like a furniture showroom because his decorator had insisted minimalism is timeless. He hated it here. Ethan pulled out his phone and looked at Clara's contact information. It would be easy to check her out properly, run a background search, see her financial situation, confirm the whole story about her sister and Lily. His assistant could have a full report on his desk by Monday morning. He deleted the thought as soon as it formed. Whatever Clara was dealing with, she'd tell him when she was ready. Or she wouldn't. Either way, he wasn't going to treat her like a business deal that needed due diligence. His phone rang. Rachel again. "Tell me everything," she demanded. "There's nothing to tell." "Liar. You drove her home, didn't you?" "How did you?" "Because you're you. So what's she like, really?" Ethan thought about Clara signing with Lily in the cafe. The unconscious grace of it. The way she'd tried to smooth her wet hair and given up halfway through. The defensive set of her shoulders when he'd looked at her building, like she was bracing for judgment. "She's real," he said finally. "Real how?" "Just real. She doesn't perform. She doesn't try to be anything except what she is." Which is tired, broke, doing her best with a situation that's probably way harder than she makes it look. Rachel was quiet for a moment. "You really like her." "Yeah, I do." "Does she know about—" "No, and I'm not telling her yet." "Ethan, I mean it, Rachel. If this goes anywhere, I want it to be because she actually likes me, not because she Googled my net worth." His sister sighed. "You're going to make this so much harder than it needs to be." "Probably. She's going to find out eventually." "I know. And she's going to be pissed that you didn't tell her." "I know that too." "But you're doing it anyway." "Yeah." Rachel laughed, but it wasn't unkind. "You're an idiot." "Thanks." A well-meaning idiot, but still an idiot. They talked for a few more minutes before Rachel had to go deal with her own kids. Ethan hung up and walked through his empty house, room by room, trying to remember the last time it had felt like a home instead of just a place to store his stuff. He couldn't. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Lily wants me to tell you she's already planning where the bookshelf goes. Tell her I'll need measurements. You were serious about that? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be? Because people say stuff they don't mean all the time. Ethan stared at that message for a long moment, trying to figure out what kind of people Clara had been dealing with that made her so surprised by basic follow-through. I meant it, he typed. When's good for you? For what? To come take measurements. For the bookshelf. The response took longer this time. You actually want to come to my apartment? Would that be weird? Maybe? I don't know. My place is really small. That's okay. Another pause. Tuesday evening? After I pick up Lily from school? What time? 6? I'll be there. Ethan sent the message and immediately wondered if he was moving too fast. They'd had one coffee date that barely qualified as a date. Now he was showing up at her apartment to build furniture like some kind of overeager handyman. But Lily had asked, and Clara had said yes. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he'd found something that mattered more than quarterly earnings reports and board meetings. He spent Sunday in his workshop, a converted barn on the property that was the only part of the estate he'd designed himself, sketching bookshelf designs and trying to figure out what a 7-year-old girl might actually want. His phone rang Monday morning while he was inspecting a concrete pour at one of his developments in the industrial district. Mr. Mercer? His assistant's voice was crisp and professional. You have the quarterly review meeting at 10. Ethan looked at his watch. 9:45. Push it to 11. Sir, the board members are all ready. Then they can wait. I'm in the middle of something. He hung up before she could protest and went back to arguing with the contractor about rebar spacing. The quarterly review meeting was exactly as painful as he expected. 12 people in expensive suits talking about profit margins and market expansion, while Ethan tried not to fall asleep. His vice president ran most of it anyway. Ethan just nodded in the right places and signed off on things when required. You seem distracted, his VP noted after everyone else had left. Just thinking about a project. The Riverside development? Different project. Should I be worried? No. Ethan stood and grabbed his jacket. I'll be at the 4th Street warehouse this afternoon if anyone needs me. You're getting concrete dust on your suit. Ethan looked down at the gray smudges on his sleeve and shrugged. I've got others. He spent the rest of Monday and all of Tuesday in his workshop, building a bookshelf that was probably way too elaborate for a 7-year-old, but he couldn't seem to help himself. Cherry wood, adjustable shelves, a small drawer at the bottom for art supplies, rounded corners so Lily couldn't hurt herself. By Tuesday evening, it was finished and loaded in his truck. Clara's apartment was on the 3rd floor of the building, up a stairwell that smelled like old carpet and something vaguely chemical. Ethan could hear raised voices from one of the units, a baby crying from another. He knocked on 3B. The door opened immediately, like Clara had been waiting right behind it. She looked frazzled, hair in a messy bun, paint smudges on her fingers, wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that said, "Coffee, please," in faded letters. "Hi," she said. "Sorry, I'm covered in... I was working on a project and lost track of time." "You're fine," Ethan gestured to his truck. "I've got the bookshelf." "You actually built it already? I had some free time." Clara blinked. "It's been 3 days. Like I said, free time." She let him down to help carry it up. When he pulled the tarp off the truck bed, Clara stopped moving entirely. "Ethan." "Yeah?" "This is..." She ran her hand over the smooth wood, the precise joints. "This is real furniture, like actual furniture. That was kind of the plan. I thought you meant like cinder blocks and plywood. Why would you think that?" "Because that's what normal people build." Lily appeared in the apartment doorway upstairs, saw the bookshelf, and her whole face lit up. She signed something rapid and excited. "She says it's perfect," Clara translated, sounding dazed. "She says it's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen." "Tell her thank you." Getting the bookshelf up 3 flights of narrow stairs took some creative maneuvering, but they managed. Inside, Clara's apartment was exactly what Ethan had expected. Tiny, crowded, everything worn but clean. Mismatched furniture, art supplies scattered across a folding table, a kitchen barely big enough for one person, and books. Everywhere. Stacked on the floor, crammed into a leaning particle board shelf, piled on the windowsill. Lily directed them to place the bookshelf against the wall in what appeared to be a shared bedroom. There was one full-size bed and a mattress on the floor, a curtain hung on a rope as a makeshift divider. Clara saw him looking and her jaw tightened slightly. "I know it's not much." "Where do you work?" Ethan asked instead. "What?" "Your design work. Where do you do it?" "Oh." Clara pointed to the folding table in the living room, currently buried under sketches and a laptop that looked like it predated smartphones. "There." "And Lily does her homework there too?" "When there's space, yeah." Ethan filed that information away without comment. They spent the next hour loading Lily's books onto the new shelves. She organized them by color first, then by size, then changed her mind and reorganized them by which ones she liked best. Clara sat on the floor beside her, offering suggestions and occasionally fixing the stacks when they got too precarious. Ethan stood back and watched them work, and something in his chest felt almost painful. This was what his enormous empty house had been missing. "You hungry?" Clara asked eventually, looking up at him. "I was going to order pizza." "I can do better than that," Ethan said before thinking. "Better how?" "Let me cook something." Clara stared at him. "You cook?" "Sometimes." "In my kitchen?" She gestured at the narrow galley space. "There's barely room to boil water." "I've worked in smaller spaces." That was a lie. He'd never worked in a space this small, but he'd watched enough cooking videos to improvise. Clara looked skeptical, but intrigued. "What would you even make?" "What have you got?" 20 minutes later, Ethan was somehow making pasta carbonara in a kitchen the size of a closet, while Lily did her homework at the now cleared folding table, and Clara sat on the counter because there was literally nowhere else to sit. "This is surreal," Clara said, watching him work. "You build furniture and cook? What are you, some kind of domestic wizard?" "I'm just a guy who likes making things. Most guys I know can barely make toast. You know the wrong guys." She laughed. "Clearly." Dinner was chaotic and perfect. They ate crowded around the small table, Lily getting sauce on her face and signing enthusiastically about her day at school. Clara translated, adding commentary that made Ethan laugh harder than he had in months. Afterward, while Clara was getting Lily ready for bed, Ethan did the dishes. The kitchen sink was tiny and the water pressure was indeed terrible, but he managed. Clara emerged from the bedroom looking exhausted. "She wants you to say goodnight." Ethan followed her back to the bedroom, where Lily was already in bed, her new bookshelf visible from where she lay. She signed something, looking at him seriously. "She says thank you for her bookshelf," Clara translated. "She says it's the best present anyone ever gave her." Ethan felt something tighten in his throat. "Tell her she's welcome." Clara's hands moved. Lily smiled and waved, then rolled over and closed her eyes. Back in the living room, Clara sank onto the couch with a heavy sigh. "I don't know how to thank you for all this." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. The bookshelf alone. Ethan, that thing is worth more than my rent. It's just wood." "It's not just wood, and you know it." She looked at him steadily. "Why are you doing this, really?" Ethan sat down in the only chair, a threadbare armchair that had definitely seen better decades. "Because I wanted to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have." Clara studied him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face for something. "Most guys would have run after the first date. Kid, chaos, all of it. But you're sitting in my crappy apartment doing dishes and building furniture like it's completely normal." "Maybe it is normal. For me." "Nothing about you is normal, Ethan Mercer." She said his full name and Ethan's heart stopped for a second, but her tone was warm, not suspicious. She hadn't Googled him, didn't know. "I should go," he said, standing. "It's late." Clara walked him to the door. In the dim hallway light, she looked younger somehow, more uncertain. "Same time next week?" she asked. "Yeah?" "Lily has art class Thursday evenings. I'm usually free after. If you wanted to, I don't know, get coffee without a chaperone this time?" Ethan smiled. "I'd like that." "Okay, good." They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Ethan? Yeah? Thanks for seeing us. Not just showing up, but actually seeing us. He didn't trust himself to respond with words, so he just nodded. Walking back to his truck, Ethan passed a man smoking in the stairwell, a couple arguing in rapid Spanish, a flickering fluorescent light that probably hadn't been fixed in years. The building was falling apart. The neighborhood was rough. Everything about this situation should have sent him running. Instead, he was already thinking about Thursday. His phone rang as he drove home. Rachel, of course. How was it? Good. Just good? Really good. Did you tell her? No. Ethan, I'm not doing this tonight, Rachel. You're falling for her. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Just be careful, his sister said softly. I know you want this to be real, but secrets have a way of blowing up. I know. Do you? Yeah, I do. He hung up and drove the rest of the way home in silence, Clara's words echoing in his head. Thanks for seeing us. The problem was, Ethan couldn't imagine not seeing them now. His house felt even emptier than usual when he got back. He walked through the massive kitchen where he never cooked, past the dining room table that never hosted dinners, up to his bedroom where he slept alone in a bed big enough for 4 people. Somewhere across town, Clara was probably already asleep on a mattress on the floor. Lily curled up beside her, both of them crammed into a space smaller than his walk-in closet. And he would have traded his entire house for one night in that crowded apartment if it meant he got to be part of whatever family they were building together. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Lily just informed me she's adding you to her Christmas list. Fair warning. Ethan smiled and typed back. What does she want? She hasn't decided yet, but knowing her, it'll involve art supplies and glitter. I can handle glitter. That's what everyone says. Then they find it in their car 6 months later. Worth it. A pause, then, yeah, it really is. Ethan fell asleep that night thinking about bookshelf measurements and terrible water pressure and a little girl who thought he had kind eyes. For the first time in 3 years, he didn't dream about his failing marriage, or his empty house, or the company that demanded everything and gave back nothing. He dreamed about a crowded apartment that smelled like pasta and paint, where everyone talked with their hands and nobody cared that he was a billionaire because nobody knew. And when he woke up, he was already planning Thursday. Thursday came slower than Ethan wanted and faster than he was ready for. He spent Wednesday afternoon in a meeting with city planners about a mixed-use development downtown, nodding at architectural renderings while mentally calculating how much lumber he'd need to build Lily a proper desk. The folding table situation was bothering him more than it should. Clara needed workspace. Lily needed somewhere to do homework that wasn't covered in design mock-ups and coffee rings. Mr. Mercer, your thoughts on the facade treatment? Ethan blinked and refocused on the architect standing at the front of the conference room. Whatever gets us through permitting fastest. I trust your judgment. His VP shot him a look that clearly said, what the hell is wrong with you? But Ethan ignored it. The meeting dragged on another 40 minutes before he could escape. His assistant caught him in the hallway. Sir, you have the foundation dinner Saturday night. The one for children's literacy? Cancel it. You're the keynote speaker. Find someone else. Mr. Mercer, Janet. He stopped walking and turned to face her. I know I'm being difficult. I know this is your job, but I need Saturday off and I'm not negotiating. She studied him with the expression of someone who'd worked for the Mercer family long enough to recognize when pushing back was pointless. Fine, but you're telling the board chair yourself. Deal. He made it to Clara's building at 6:15, carrying takeout from a Thai place his sister had recommended, and trying not to think too hard about the fact that he was more nervous now than he'd been before board presentations worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Clara answered the door in paint-splattered jeans and a tank top, her hair up in a clip with a pencil stuck through it. You're early. Traffic was light. Is that a problem? No, just, she gestured vaguely at herself. I'm a mess. Lily's still at art class. I was going to shower before you got here. You look fine. I have cerulean blue in my hair. I don't know what that is. It's a shade of paint in my hair because I'm a professional disaster. Ethan held up the takeout bag. I brought food. Clara's expression softened. You didn't have to do that. I know. Can I come in or are we eating in the hallway? She stepped aside, laughing. Sorry. Yeah, come in. The apartment looked different in the early evening light. Still small, still crowded, but somehow more lived in than last time. Lily's artwork covered one wall now, held up with painter's tape. The new bookshelf stood proud in the bedroom doorway, fully loaded and organized. Clara saw him looking. She rearranges it every day. I've stopped trying to keep track of her system. That's good. Means she's using it. Using it? She talks about it constantly. Well, signs about it. You know what I mean. Clara cleared space on the folding table, moving design sketches and a laptop that looked like it might die any second. What did you bring? Pad thai, spring rolls, some kind of curry thing the guy recommended? The guy? At the restaurant. You went there in person? Yeah? Clara sat down across from him, shaking her head slightly. Most people just order delivery. I was already out. Where? Good question. Ethan had actually driven from a job site in the industrial district, but saying that would require explaining what he was doing there, which would lead to questions he wasn't ready to answer. Running errands. Clara accepted this without pressing. They ate straight from the containers because she only had 4 plates and most of them were in the sink. The pad thai was good. The spring rolls were better. The curry was too spicy for either of them, but they kept eating it anyway. So, Clara said, around a mouthful of noodles. Tell me about your son. Jake? You have another one I don't know about? Just Jake. He's 8. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. What does that mean? It means he asks questions I don't always know how to answer. Ethan set down his fork. He's with his mom this week. We split custody 50-50. That must be hard. It's not ideal. How long have you been divorced? Final papers came through about 8 months ago. We were separated for a year before that. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. Ethan thought about how to answer that honestly without getting into territory he wasn't ready to explore. We wanted different things. She wanted the life that came with my last name. I wanted to actually live instead of performing all the time. Clara was quiet for a moment. What does that mean? Performing? Parties, galas, charity events, where everyone spends more on their outfit than most people make in a month. Standing around making small talk with people who only care about what you can do for them. He realized he was saying too much and pulled back. My ex-wife loved all that. I didn't. Eventually, that became a problem we couldn't fix. Sounds exhausting. It was. Is that why you dress like you're about to demo a house? Ethan looked down at his worn jeans and faded Henley. I dress like this because it's comfortable. And because it pisses off your ex-wife? That's just a bonus. Clara laughed, and the sound filled the small apartment like light. I like you, Ethan Mercer. You're weird, but I like you. I'll take it. They finished eating, and Clara insisted on doing dishes, even though there were only a few containers to rinse. Ethan stood in the doorway to the tiny kitchen, watching her work, and trying to figure out when he'd become the kind of person who found dishwashing romantic. How long until you pick up Lily? He asked. Clara checked her phone. About an hour. Her teacher usually runs late because the kids don't want to leave. You want to show me what you're working on? She turned, surprised. My design stuff? Yeah. It's boring. Show me anyway. Clara dried her hands and led him to the folding table, pulling up files on her ancient laptop. The screen flickered twice before loading. I'm doing a logo redesign for a real estate company. They want something modern but trustworthy, which is code for, we have no idea what we want and we'll reject everything you show us. Ethan looked at the mock-ups on her screen. They were good. Clean lines, smart use of negative space, the kind of professional work that should have been commanding serious money. What are they paying you? $300? For a logo? For the logo, 3 revision rounds, and all file formats. Clara's voice had an edge to it. I know it's not enough. But I need the money, so... You're undercharging. Thanks, I hadn't noticed. Clara. I know. Okay? She closed the laptop harder than necessary. I know I'm undercharging. I know I'm letting clients walk all over me. I know I should have better boundaries and charge what I'm worth and all that empowering freelancer bullshit. But in the real world, where I have a kid to feed and rent due in 2 weeks, I take what I can get. Ethan held up his hands. I wasn't criticizing. Yes, you were. I was making an observation. Same thing. They stared at each other for a moment, the air tense in a way it hadn't been 5 minutes ago. Clara broke first, sighing. Sorry, I'm defensive about work stuff. I noticed. It's just, everyone has opinions about what I should be doing differently. My mom, my friends, random people on the internet. Like it's easy. Like I'm just choosing to struggle. I don't think that. No? No. Ethan sat down in the armchair. I think you're doing what you have to do to survive. That's not weakness. That's pragmatism. Clara studied him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. You really mean that? Yeah. Most people don't get it. They think if you're struggling, it's because you're doing something wrong. Most people are idiots. She laughed, tension breaking. Truth. Clara sat on the couch, tucking her feet under her. What about you? You like your job? Sometimes. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. It pays well, it's stable, my son's college fund is set. All true statements that revealed nothing. But do you like it? Ethan thought about his answer carefully. I like building things. I like solving problems. I like seeing projects go from concept to completion. The rest of it, the meetings, the politics, the endless bureaucracy, I could do without. So quit. And do what? I don't know. Build furniture full-time. You're clearly good at it. Furniture building doesn't pay for health insurance. Fair point. Clara pulled the pencil out of her hair and twirled it between her fingers. Do you ever think about it, though? Just walking away from the stable thing and doing what you actually want? Every single day, Ethan thought, but didn't say. Sometimes. What stops you? Responsibility. Jake. The fact that wanting something doesn't mean it's smart to chase it. That's depressing. That's being an adult. I hate being an adult, Clara muttered. It's the worst. Agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Ethan could hear someone's TV through the thin walls, a dog barking somewhere outside, the building settling around them with creaks and groans. Clara's phone buzzed. She checked it and groaned. The real estate client just sent feedback. They want to see something with more energy. What does that even mean? Absolutely nothing. It means they don't know what they want, but they know they don't want this. She tossed her phone on the couch. I'll deal with it tomorrow. You sure? If I look at it now, I'll just get pissed off and send an email I'll regret. Better to wait until I can be professional about it. Ethan respected that level of self-awareness. Clara's phone buzzed again. This time when she read the message, her whole body went rigid. What's wrong? Ethan asked. Nothing. It's nothing. Clara. She looked up and her eyes were shiny. My sister. She's in town. Wants to see Lily. Isn't that good? You'd think so, wouldn't you? Clara's voice went hard. Except she's been gone for 6 months without a word. No calls, no texts, no child support. And now she just shows up and expects everything to be fine. What are you going to do? I don't know. I should let her see Lily, right? She's still her mom. But every time she does this, shows up, makes promises, disappears again, it destroys Lily for weeks. Does Lily ask about her? Used to. Not so much anymore. Clara wiped her eyes roughly. She's 7 years old and she's already learning that her mom isn't reliable. What kind of lesson is that? Ethan didn't have an answer. The only thing worse than no answer was a bullshit platitude, so he kept quiet. Sorry, Clara said after a moment. This isn't your problem. You don't have to apologize. I'm dumping my family drama on you during our second date. That's exactly the kind of thing you're supposed to avoid. Who made that rule? I don't know. Society? Society also says you're supposed to get married, buy a house in the suburbs, and pretend to like golf. I'm not big on following rules. That got a small smile. You don't like golf? I hate golf. It's the most boring sport ever invented. What do you like? Baseball, hockey, anything where people actually move. Lily loves baseball, Clara said. She went to a game last summer with her class and came home signing about it for hours. I didn't understand half of what she was saying, but she was so excited. Jake plays Little League, Ethan offered. Maybe they could go to a game together sometime. Clara looked at him like he'd suggested something radical. You'd want that? Lily meeting your son? Why not? Because that's a big step. That's family integration territory. Is it? Ethan, we've been on 2 dates. 3 if you count tonight. Fine, 3 dates. That's not usually when you start introducing kids. What's the usual timeline? Clara opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't actually know. I haven't dated since Lily came to live with me. So we're both making this up as we go. That's one way to put it. Look, Ethan said, leaning forward. I'm not trying to rush anything, but I like you. I like Lily. If Jake meeting her feels too fast, we'll wait. But don't say no because you think there's some rule about it. Clara was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. You're serious? Yeah. About all of this? About us? Yeah. Why? It was a fair question. Ethan tried to find words that didn't sound completely insane. Because you're the first person in 3 years who's looked at me like I'm just a person. Not a paycheck, not a status symbol, not a stepping stone to something better. Just me. I don't even know what you do, Clara pointed out. For all I know, you could be a janitor. Would that matter? No. She said it immediately, without hesitation. I don't care what you do for work. I care that you show up when you say you will. That you built my niece a bookshelf because she asked. That you do dishes without being asked, and you don't make me feel like shit for living in a crappy apartment. Something in Ethan's chest cracked open. Clara, I like you too, she said quietly. In case that wasn't clear. I like you a lot, actually, and that's terrifying because my life is a disaster, and I don't have room for complications. I'm not a complication. You're definitely a complication. Okay, yeah, but maybe a good one? Clara laughed, wiping her eyes again. Maybe. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and stood up. That's the art teacher. Class is done. I need to go pick up Lily. I'll drive you. Ethan, it's a 10-minute round trip. Let me drive you. She looked like she wanted to argue, but tiredness won out. Okay, fine, but only because my feet hurt. The art studio was in a converted warehouse in the arts district, the kind of space where rent was cheap because nothing worked properly, but the light was good. Ethan waited in the truck while Clara went inside, watching through the large windows as she signed with Lily's teacher, as Lily ran to her and signed something excited, as Clara laughed and signed back. They came out together, Lily carrying a painting that was mostly purple with some enthusiastic yellow streaks. She saw Ethan through the windshield and waved, her whole face lighting up. Hey kid, Ethan said as Clara helped her into the back seat. What'd you make? Lily held up the painting proudly and signed. She says it's the night sky, Clara translated. The yellow is stars. It's good. The colors are bold. Lily beamed and signed something else. She wants to know if you have kids, Clara said. I have a son. His name is Jake. He's 8, same as you're about to be. Lily's eyes went wide. She signed rapidly, looking between Ethan and Clara. Slow down, Clara signed back. One question at a time. More signing. She wants to know if Jake likes art, Clara said. He likes building things, Ethan offered. Legos mostly. And he's really into dinosaurs right now. Lily considered this seriously, then signed something that made Clara laugh. What? Ethan asked. She says any boy who likes dinosaurs is probably okay. High praise. They drove back to the apartment, Lily chattering in sign language the entire way. Clara translated occasionally, mostly when Lily asked Ethan direct questions about Jake, or what kind of dinosaurs were his favorite, or whether he thought pterodactyls were actually dinosaurs, or just flying reptiles. I don't know, Ethan admitted. That's a Jake question. He'd have opinions. Lily signed something emphatic. She says pterodactyls are definitely not dinosaurs, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong, Clara translated, trying not to smile. She's very passionate about this. I can see that. Back at the apartment, Lily went straight to her bookshelf to reorganize it again, while Clara put away her art supplies. You want coffee? Clara asked. Fair warning, it's terrible. My coffee maker is from 1987, and I'm pretty sure it's haunted. How can a coffee maker be haunted? It makes weird noises, and sometimes the coffee comes out brownish instead of actual brown. I don't know what else to call that. I'll risk it. The coffee was indeed terrible, but Ethan drank it anyway. They sat at the folding table while Lily rearranged her bookshelf for the 3rd time, comfortable in a way that felt too easy for how little time they'd actually spent together. I should probably go, Ethan said eventually. It's getting late. Yeah, probably. Neither of them moved. About my sister, Clara said abruptly. I'm going to tell her no. About seeing Lily. You sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. She doesn't get to disappear for months and then waltz back in when it's convenient. That's not how parenting works. It's your call. You think I'm being too harsh. I think you're protecting your kid. That's not harsh. That's being a good parent. Clara's eyes went shiny again. You can't just say stuff like that. Why not? Because it makes me want to cry, and I'm already an emotional disaster today. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were cold and paint-stained, and she gripped his like a lifeline. Thank you, she said quietly, for being here, for not running away screaming. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, too. Clara squeezed his hand once more, then let go. I'll walk you out. At the door they stood in the narrow hallway, close enough that Ethan could see the flecks of paint she'd missed in her hair. Same time next week? She asked. Or sooner if you want. Sooner? I'm free Saturday, if you are. I have to work. Client revisions. Sunday? Clara hesitated. Sunday's good, but fair warning. Lily will be with me. My babysitter quit. Well, fired me. Apparently I don't pay enough. Bring her. To a date? Why not? Worked the first time. Clara shook her head, but she was smiling. You're so weird. You mentioned that. I'm going to keep mentioning it until you acknowledge how weird this is. Deal. She kissed him then, quick and soft and tasting like terrible coffee. Then she pulled back, looking startled at herself. Sorry, she said. I should have asked. Ethan kissed her back, slower this time, one hand coming up to cup her face. When they broke apart, Clara's cheeks were pink and her eyes were bright. Oh, she said. Yeah. That was... Yeah. She laughed, breathless. Okay, good, great. Sunday then? Sunday. Ethan made it halfway down the stairs before he heard her door open again. Ethan? He turned. Clara was leaning out into the hallway, her hair falling out of its clip. I really like you, she called down. Like a concerning amount for 3 dates. Same, he called back. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. We are. She grinned and disappeared back inside. Ethan sat in his truck for a solid 5 minutes before starting the engine, trying to remember the last time a kiss had made his hands shake. High school, maybe. Possibly never. His phone rang. Rachel? Because of course it was. How was the date? Good. Just good? Really good. Did you tell her yet? No? Ethan, I kissed her. Silence. Then, you what? She kissed me first. Then I kissed her back. Then we agreed to see each other Sunday. Oh my God, Rachel breathed. You're in deep. Yeah, like really deep. I know. And you still haven't told her who you are. No. This is going to blow up in your face. Probably. But you're doing it anyway. Yeah. His sister sighed. You're an idiot. But you sound happy, so I guess that counts for something. Thanks. When do I get to meet her? Not yet. Why not? Because you'll tell her I'm a billionaire within 5 minutes and ruin everything. I would not... Rachel stopped. Okay, I probably would, but only because she deserves to know. She'll know when I'm ready to tell her. And when's that? I don't know yet. They talked for a few more minutes before Rachel had to go. Ethan drove home through empty streets, the city quiet around him. His house was dark when he pulled up. He'd forgotten to leave lights on again. Inside, the silence was oppressive. He walked through rooms that cost more than most people's yearly salary and felt nothing but the absence of what he'd just left. A crowded apartment, terrible coffee, a little girl reorganizing her bookshelf while her aunt translated questions about dinosaurs. That was home. This was just where he kept his stuff. Ethan's phone buzzed, a text from Clara. Lily wants to know if Jake can come on Sunday too. He smiled and typed back, Let me ask him. She's already planning activities. Fair warning. What kind of activities? I honestly have no idea. She's being very secretive about it. Tell her Jake's in. You haven't asked him yet. He'll say yes. Trust me. Another text came through. I'm trusting you with a lot lately. I know. I won't mess it up. You better not. Lily really likes you. If you break her heart, I'll have to kill you. Noted. And before you ask, yes, I'll be sad about it, but I'll still do it. Also noted. A pause. Then, I really like you too, by the way, in case the kiss didn't make that clear. Ethan stared at that message for a long moment, something warm spreading through his chest. The kiss made it clear, he typed. But it's nice to hear anyway. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Clara. He fell asleep on his couch, still in his jeans, his phone clutched in his hand like a teenager. And when he dreamed, it was about Sunday afternoons and terrible coffee and a woman with paint in her hair who looked at him like he was worth seeing. Saturday morning, Ethan called his ex-wife. I need to change weekend plans, he said when she picked up. Ethan, we have a custody agreement. I know. I'm not asking to skip my weekend. I'm asking if Jake can meet someone. Silence. Someone? I'm seeing someone. It's new, but it's good. And she has a niece. I thought maybe the kids could meet. You're dating? His ex-wife sounded genuinely surprised. Since when? A few weeks? And you're already introducing her to Jake? It's not that simple. She brings her niece everywhere. The kid's 7. If I want to see Clara, Lily comes with the package. Clara, his ex repeated. What does she do? Here it was. The test. Graphic design, freelance. Oh. The single syllable carried a world of judgment. Does she know about... No, and you're not telling her. Ethan. I mean it, Jennifer. Not a word. She's going to find out eventually. Let me worry about that. His ex-wife sighed. Fine. Bring Jake back Sunday evening instead of Monday morning. But Ethan, be careful. I don't want him getting attached to someone who's going to disappear. She's not going to disappear. You don't know that. Yeah, Ethan said quietly. I do. He picked up Jake Saturday afternoon. His son bounded out of the house with a backpack full of dinosaur books and endless energy. Dad, Mom said we're meeting new people tomorrow. We are. Who? A friend of mine and her niece. The girl's about your age. Jake's nose wrinkled. Is she weird? Probably, but good weird. What's her name? Lily. She's 7, almost 8. And Jake? She's deaf. So she talks with her hands instead of words. Jake absorbed this information with the seriousness of someone much older. Does she know dinosaurs? I think so. Okay, I'll bring my books to show her. That night, Jake peppered him with questions. What did Clara look like? Where did they live? Did they have any pets? Would there be snacks? I don't know about snacks, Ethan admitted. That's a critical planning failure, Dad. Since when do you say things like critical planning failure? Mom's boyfriend says it. He works in logistics. Ethan decided not to touch that comment. We'll bring snacks then. What kind is Lily like? How should I know? I've never met her. Fair point. Sunday morning, they stopped at a grocery store. Jake selected enough snacks to feed a small army, including 3 different kinds of cookies and something called fruit leather that looked deeply suspicious. This is too much, Ethan said. You can't show up to meet new people without good snacks, Dad. That's basic social protocol. Where are you learning this stuff? The internet. Great, that's great. They showed up at Clara's apartment at 11, Ethan carrying 2 grocery bags and Jake carrying his dinosaur encyclopedia like a security blanket. Clara opened the door looking frazzled. Hey, sorry, Lily's having a wardrobe crisis. A what? She can't decide what to wear. Apparently meeting Jake is a formal occasion that requires careful outfit selection. From the bedroom came the sound of drawers opening and closing. This is Jake, Ethan said, nudging his son forward. Jake waved awkwardly. Hi, I brought snacks. I can see that, Clara said, eyeing the grocery bags. Did you buy out the whole store? Just the good stuff, Jake said seriously. Lily emerged from his bedroom wearing a bright purple shirt with a dinosaur on it and jeans. She saw Jake and froze, suddenly shy. Jake stared back, equally frozen. Well, Clara said, this is going well. Ethan set down the grocery bags. Jake, this is Lily. Lily, this is Jake. Jake lifted one hand in a small wave. Lily waved back. Then Jake pulled out his dinosaur book and held it up. Lily's face lit up. She signed something rapid and excited. She says she likes your shirt, Clara translated. Jake was wearing a t-shirt with a T-Rex on it. Thanks. I like your dinosaur too. Jake pointed at her shirt. Just like that, the ice broke. Within 5 minutes, they were sitting on the floor with the dinosaur encyclopedia open between them, Lily signing questions and Jake answering with the kind of enthusiastic detail only an 8-year-old could muster. That went better than expected, Clara murmured, standing beside Ethan. Kids are easier than adults. Truth. They ended up at a park near the apartment, a scrubby piece of grass with broken playground equipment and a basketball court where teenagers were playing a chaotic game of pickup. Jake and Lily claimed the swings immediately, Lily signing and Jake doing his best to understand without knowing sign language. He's trying so hard, Clara said, watching them. Jake doesn't do anything halfway. Lily's the same. When she decides she likes someone, that's it, full commitment. They sat on a bench while the kids played. Clara had brought her laptop and a notebook, clearly planning to work. You don't have to work right now, Ethan said. I have revisions due tomorrow. Can they wait an hour? Clara looked at him, then at the kids, then back at her laptop. Yeah, they can wait. She closed the computer and leaned back, tilting her face toward the sun. This is nice. Yeah? Yeah, I don't usually get to just sit. There's always something that needs doing. So don't do anything. Just sit. You make it sound easy. It is easy. You're just bad at it. Clara laughed and shoved his shoulder. Rude. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Jake push Lily on the swings, both kids laughing. After a while, Lily hopped off and signed something to Jake. He nodded, and they ran toward the basketball court, stopping at a safe distance to watch the teenagers play. Do you think they'll be friends? Clara asked. Yeah, I think they already are. That was fast. Sometimes things just work. Clara looked at him, something soft in her expression. Yeah, sometimes they do. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from his VP. Board meeting moved to Tuesday. We need you there. He turned the phone off without responding. Work? Clara asked. Nothing that can't wait. You sure? You can take it if you need to. I'm sure. They stayed at the park until the kids got hungry, then walked to a taco truck parked on the corner. Jake and Lily sat on the curb eating their food while Ethan and Clara stood nearby, close enough that their shoulders touched. Thank you for this, Clara said quietly. For what? Bringing Jake. Making this feel normal. My life's been so chaotic for so long, I forgot what normal felt like. This is normal for me too, Ethan said. The good kind of normal. Clara leaned into him slightly, and Ethan wrapped an arm around her shoulders without thinking about it. She fit there perfectly, her head just under his chin. My sister texted again, she said after a moment. She's pissed I won't let her see Lily. What did you say? That she can see her when she's ready to actually commit to being a parent, instead of just visiting when it's convenient. How'd she take it? About as well as you'd expect, lots of guilt-tripping and blame-shifting. Clara sighed. I know I'm doing the right thing, but it doesn't feel good. The right thing usually doesn't. They stayed like that for a while, watching the kids and the traffic and the city moving around them. Eventually, Jake and Lily finished eating and came over, both talking excitedly. Jake in words, Lily in signs that Clara translated. They want to go to a museum, Clara said. Specifically, the Natural History Museum. Apparently there's a dinosaur exhibit. We can do that, Ethan said. Now? Why not? Clara looked uncertain. Museum admission isn't cheap, and parking, and I've got it covered. Ethan, Clara. He turned to face her properly. Let me do this, please. She searched his face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but I'm buying lunch after. Deal. The museum was packed with families, the dinosaur exhibit especially crowded. Jake immediately appointed himself Lily's tour guide, pointing out different fossils and signing their names with his own invented sign language that bore no resemblance to actual ASL, but somehow Lily understood anyway. Claire and Ethan followed behind them, occasionally intercepting when they tried to climb barriers or touch things marked "Do Not Touch." They're going to get us kicked out, Claire said, watching Jake gesture wildly at a triceratops skull while Lily giggled. Probably worth it. They made it through the whole exhibit without incident, though it was a close call when Jake tried to convince the museum guard that he needed to see the fossil preparation lab for research purposes. Afterward, Clara insisted on buying everyone ice cream from a cart outside. They sat on the museum steps, all four of them sticky and happy. "Best Sunday ever," Jake declared through a mouthful of chocolate. Lily signed her agreement enthusiastically. "We should do this again," Jake said, looking at Ethan. "Can we?" Before Ethan could answer, Lily was signing the same question to Clara. "We'll see," Clara said carefully. "That means yes," Jake told Lily confidently. Adults always say "we'll see" when they mean yes but don't want to commit. Lily signed something that made Clara laugh. "What?" Ethan asked. "She says Jake is very smart." "He has his moments." By the time they got back to Clara's apartment, both kids were exhausted. Lily went straight to her bookshelf to show Jake her organization system, while Clara made coffee, and Ethan pretended not to notice that her coffee maker really did make disturbing sounds. "I should get Jake home," Ethan said eventually. "School tomorrow." "Yeah, Lily too." Neither of them moved. "Today was really good," Clara said. "Yeah, it was. The kids get along." "Surprisingly well. Jake's a good kid. So is Lily." They stood in the small kitchen, the conversation stilted now that they were talking around what they both wanted to say. "I want to do this again," Ethan said finally. "All of it. Soon." Clara smiled. "Me too. How about next weekend? Both days? If you want." "I want." She moved closer. "I really want." Ethan kissed her then, soft and slow, trying to communicate everything he couldn't yet say out loud. When they broke apart, Clara's eyes were bright. "You're really good at that," she said. "Practice." "With who?" "You, hopefully." She laughed and kissed him again, quick and sweet. "Definitely me." They gathered Jake, said their goodbyes, and headed out. In the truck, Jake was uncharacteristically quiet. "You okay, buddy?" Ethan asked. "Do you like Clara?" "Yeah, I do." Like her?" "Where'd you learn that phrase?" "School." "Do you?" "Yeah, Jake, I like her." His son nodded seriously. "Good. I like Lily. She's weird, but good weird. Runs in the family. Can we see them again next weekend?" "That's the plan." "Every weekend?" "Probably." Jake absorbed this information, then nodded once. "Okay, that's good. Mom's boyfriend is boring, but Clara's cool, and Lily knows dinosaurs." High praise. "The highest," Jake agreed solemnly. They drove in comfortable silence. Ethan's phone, turned back on, showed 17 missed calls and 43 texts. He ignored all of them. That night, after dropping Jake off and returning to his empty house, Ethan stood in his workshop and thought about Clara's cramped apartment with its terrible coffee maker and broken water pressure. He could fix all of it: the pipes, the foundation, the leaking windows. He could write a check that would move her into a better building, a safer neighborhood. He could make her life easier with a single phone call. But she'd never forgive him for it. Clara didn't want to be rescued. She wanted to be seen. And for the first time in years, Ethan understood the difference. His phone buzzed, a text from Clara. "Lily says thank you for the museum, and the snacks, and for bringing Jake. Tell her any time. She also says you have to come to her birthday party next month. Wouldn't miss it. Fair warning, it'll probably be chaos. 7-year-olds are feral. I've met Jake. I know about feral." A pause, then, "Thank you for today, for all of it. You make me feel like maybe I'm not completely failing at this." Ethan read that message 3 times, his chest tight. "You're not failing," he typed. "You're amazing. Lily's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you." He stared at those 5 words for a long time before responding. "Same." That night, Ethan didn't dream about his empty house, or his demanding company, or the fortune he'd inherited that felt more like a burden than a blessing. He dreamed about Sunday afternoons at the park, about kids who became instant friends, about a woman with paint in her hair who was teaching him what it meant to be seen for who he actually was. And when he woke up Monday morning to his assistant calling about an emergency board meeting, he told her to handle it and went back to sleep. Some things, he was learning, mattered more than money. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon while Ethan was elbow-deep in foundation specs for a commercial project downtown. His phone vibrated across the desk, Clara's name lighting up the screen. He answered immediately, already smiling. "Hey." "Nothing. Just breathing, uneven and shaky. Clara? She's gone. Her voice came out fractured, barely holding together. My sister, she took off again, for good this time. Ethan was already grabbing his keys. Where are you? Home. I'm at home. Lily's at school. She doesn't know yet, and I don't know how to tell her that her mom just... Clara's voice broke completely. There's paperwork, so much paperwork, legal guardianship forms and custody agreements, and I don't have a lawyer. I don't have money for a lawyer. I don't even know where to start. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in my truck, 20 minutes. He made it in 15, taking corners faster than he should have and ignoring 3 calls from his office. Clara's building looked the same as always, peeling paint, cracked sidewalk, the perpetual smell of garbage from the dumpster around back. But somehow it felt different now, like the weight of what was happening inside had changed the whole structure. Clara opened the door before he could knock. She looked wrecked, red eyes, hair tangled, still wearing what she'd probably slept in. Papers covered every surface of the small apartment, legal documents, court forms, printed articles about custody law. She left a note, Clara said without preamble, holding up a piece of notebook paper covered in messy handwriting. Taped to my door this morning, said she can't do this anymore, that Lily's better off with me, that she's sorry. Clara, sorry, Clara laughed, but it sounded more like something breaking. She's sorry. Like that fixes anything. Like sorry is enough after abandoning your kid for 2 years. Ethan took the note, read it quickly. The handwriting was erratic, the message shorter than a grocery list. Barely a paragraph to explain why a mother was walking away from her daughter. She signed over her rights, Clara continued, shuffling through papers with shaking hands. Just like that. Filed preliminary paperwork yesterday and texted me this morning that it's done. I have to file counter paperwork within 30 days, or it defaults to state custody while they sort it out, and I don't even know what half these forms mean. Slow down. I can't slow down. The clock is ticking, and I have to figure this out, and I don't know how. I've been reading legal forms for 3 hours, and everyone says I need a lawyer, but lawyers cost money I don't have. Ethan gently took the papers from her hands and set them on the table. Look at me. Clara did, her eyes wet and desperate. We'll figure this out, he said, all of it. But right now you need to breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Ethan, I don't need a breathing exercise. I need a lawyer and about $10,000 I don't have. Clara. He took her hands. They were ice cold. Breathe with me, please. She resisted for a moment, then gave in. They stood in the middle of her chaotic apartment, breathing together while the clock ticked and legal deadlines loomed, and somewhere across town a 7-year-old girl had no idea her whole life had just changed again. After a minute, Clara's breathing steadied. Some of the panic left her eyes. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I'm okay. You're not okay, but you will be. How do you know? Because you love that kid more than anything, and that counts for something. Clara pulled away and sank onto the couch, pressing her palms against her eyes. I can't afford this. Any of it. The legal fees alone will bankrupt me, and that's before we even talk about what happens after. I'll need a bigger place. Lily needs her own room for the custody evaluation. I need to prove I can provide for her long term. One thing at a time. There's no time. I have to file response paperwork, get a home evaluation, prove financial stability, and I'm barely keeping my head above water as it is. Ethan sat down beside her, careful to keep some distance. What do you need? Right now? Today? What's the most urgent thing? Clara lowered her hands and stared at the ceiling. A lawyer. Someone who knows family law and won't charge me $300 an hour I don't have. I know someone. You know a lawyer? My company uses a firm for contract stuff. They have a family law division. I can make a call. Clara turned to look at him, something flickering across her face. Your company has lawyers on retainer? Ethan realized his mistake immediately. It's a big company. They keep lawyers for everything. How big? Regional. We do construction materials, remember? Lots of contracts, lots of legal stuff. Clara absorbed this, still watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. That must pay pretty well. It's fine. Fine like comfortable, or fine like you're being modest? Clara. Because that bookshelf you built cost more in materials than I make in a month, and you keep offering to pay for things like it's nothing. Museums, groceries, now lawyers. I'm trying to help. I know, but I need to understand what I'm getting into here. If you're secretly rich or something, I'm not secretly rich. Technically true. He was openly rich, just not to her. I do okay. Better than okay. But I'm not, it's not like that. Not like what? Not like I'm some trust fund kid throwing money at problems. I work for what I have. Also technically true. Ethan worked constantly. The fact that he'd inherited a company worth billions didn't change that he actually ran it. Clara studied him for a long moment, then seemed to decide something. Okay, fine. If you know a lawyer who won't destroy me financially, I'll take the help. But Ethan, I need to pay my own way. I can't be someone's charity case. You're not a charity case. Then what am I? Someone I care about who's having a really hard time. Let me help. Her eyes went shiny again. Why? Because I want to. Because Lily deserves better than this. Because you deserve better than this. Clara wiped her eyes roughly. I don't deserve anything. I'm just trying to survive. That's not true. You don't know that. You barely know me. I know enough. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down between them. I have to pick up Lily in an hour, Clara said finally. And I don't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. That her mom abandoned her, again? That you're making sure she's safe, that you're handling it. That's what she needs to hear. Clara nodded slowly, but she didn't look convinced. She's going to be devastated. Yeah, probably. And I'm going to have to hold it together while she falls apart. And I don't know if I can do that. You can. You've been doing it for 2 years. 2 years of temporary. This is permanent. This is me becoming her legal parent, not just her babysitter aunt. That's... Clara's voice cracked. That's terrifying. Ethan wanted to pull her into his arms, but something in her posture said she needed space to break down without an audience. So he stood up instead. I'm going to make some calls, he said. Figure out the lawyer situation. You take a shower, get dressed, do whatever you need to do before you pick up Lily. Ethan, I'm not leaving. I'll be right here when you get back. Clara looked at him like he'd promised something impossible. Then she nodded and disappeared into the bathroom. Ethan waited until he heard the shower start, then stepped out into the hallway and called his personal attorney. Marcus, I need a family law specialist, best one you know. What kind of case? Custody. Single guardian adopting her niece. Mother's terminating her rights voluntarily, but the paperwork is a nightmare. That's not really my area, but I know someone. Sarah Chen. She's sharp and she doesn't play games. You want me to set up a meeting? Today, if possible. Ethan, it's 3 in the afternoon. Most lawyers tell her I'll pay triple her usual rate for an emergency consultation. Today. Marcus was quiet for a moment. This is personal, isn't it? Yeah. The woman Rachel mentioned? Yeah. Does she know about... No. And she's not going to. Not from you, not from Sarah Chen, not from anyone. As far as anyone's concerned, I'm just a guy helping out someone I'm dating. Ethan, if you're paying the legal fees, so I'm loaning the money. She'll pay me back. That's the deal. If you say so. Marcus didn't sound convinced. I'll call Sarah. Expect to hear from her within the hour. Thanks. Ethan hung up and stared at the peeling paint on the hallway wall. 3 doors down, someone was cooking something that smelled like burnt onions. A baby cried. The building settled with a groan that suggested the foundation really was as bad as it looked. He could fix all of this. One phone call and Clara would have a lawyer, a new apartment, a trust fund for Lily's education. Hell, he could buy the entire building and renovate it, make it safe for everyone who lived here. But Clara would hate him for it. The bathroom door opened. Clara emerged, still looking wrecked, but at least clean. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, pulled her hair back into a braid. Feel better? Ethan asked. Not really, but I'm functional. That's something. His phone rang. Sarah Chen already calling back. I need to take this, he told Clara. Okay. He stepped back into the hallway. Hello? Mr. Mercer, this is Sarah Chen. Marcus said you have a custody situation that needs immediate attention. Not me. A friend. The mother's voluntarily terminating rights. My friend needs to file for legal guardianship within 30 days or the state gets involved. How old is the child? 7, almost 8. And your friend has been the primary caregiver? For 2 years. That's good. Makes the case stronger. I can meet this evening, 6 o'clock at my office? Ethan thought about Clara's face when he'd mentioned lawyers. Can you do a home visit instead? She's dealing with a lot right now. Going to an office might be overwhelming. Sarah was quiet for a moment. That's unusual? I know. I'll make it worth your time. Marcus mentioned triple rate. Quadruple for a home visit. Mr. Mercer, I appreciate the business, but I should mention that custody cases can get expensive fast. Court fees, filing costs, expert witnesses if it goes to a hearing, you're looking at potentially tens of thousands of dollars. Is your friend prepared for that? I'm covering it. Does she know that? She thinks it's a loan. Mr. Mercer, I know how it sounds, but she won't accept charity. This is the only way she'll let me help, Sarah sighed. Fine. Text me the address. I'll be there at 6. But Ethan? She's going to figure out eventually that you're not just some guy who works in construction materials. I know. And when she does, she's going to be pissed. I know that too. He hung up and went back inside. Clara was sitting at the table, staring at the pile of legal documents like they might spontaneously combust if she looked hard enough.